Hello, and welcome to ACPA 2021 New Attendee Orientation. Whether you're joining us for the first time here at convention, or you've taken some time off and decided to come back and reconnect, we're extremely grateful that you've decided to spend some time with us. My name is Joshua Beeson. My pronouns are he, him, his. My home institution is the University of Maryland College Park. I work in residential facilities, and I'm coming to you this evening from Washington, D.C., the ancestral homeland of the Piscataway. Mark Paulo, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi all, my name is Mark Paulo Guzman. My pronouns are he, him, his. My home institution is the University of Virginia Darden School of Business, where I'm Associate Director for Diversity Recruitment, and I reside on the ancestral lands of the Monacan Nation in Charlottesville, Virginia. Danielle?
Hi everybody, welcome to ACPA. My name is Danielle Morgan Acosta. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I currently serve as the Associate Dean of Students at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, the ancestral homelands of the Nipmuc people. And I am your current ACPA Vice President and incoming President. We are so excited you're here. I will turn it over to Gabe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabe Marinko Garcia, and I use he, him, his, and L pronouns. I serve as one of the Associate Directors in the Office of Student Affairs and Student Life at the University of Pennsylvania, the ancestral lands of the Lenape. And I hand it over to Todd.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to convention. My name is Todd Snovel. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I come to you from the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the tribal homelands of the Susquehannock people, and I will turn it over to Taylor.
Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Rice. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My home institution is Northern Arizona University, where I'm a graduate assistant for fraternity and sorority life. I'm coming to you from Flagstaff, Arizona, on the ancestral homeland of the Navajo, Hopi, Paiute, Havasupai, and Wallapai, and several other tribal nations. As you just witnessed, each of our presenters acknowledge the land we are presenting from. Related to our mission of supporting and fostering learning through the generation and sharing of knowledge, ACPA, College Student Educators International, would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on today, wherever we may be, is the original homeland of many tribal nations. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from these territories, and we honor and respect the many diverse Indigenous peoples still connected to the lands on which we gather. I encourage you to find the rightful owners of the lands we occupy. Please visit native-land.ca to see the rightful owners of the land you are currently on. Now I'm going to kick it over to our convention chair for ACPA 21, Bernie Leong, who has a welcome message for you.
Hi everyone, my name is Bernie Leong. I use he, him pronouns. I am this year's ACPA 21 convention chair, and I'm coming to you today from Seattle, Washington, which is the land of the Salish people and specifically of the Duwamish. It is my pleasure to welcome you as new attendees to ACPA 21. I know this is probably not exactly what you planned on doing. This is honestly not exactly what I was planning on planning for you all, but we're really excited to be able to provide for you a totally re-envisioned, totally new way of coming to convention, and I hope that it'll be a great experience for you. You'll hear a little bit more about what we planned, but just for you as new attendees, I want you to know that ACPA can be everything that you want it to be. And I know that asking for a lot of your time, a lot of your effort right now can be a lot. So it will be a balance. There's a lot to do, a lot to attend. And I would really encourage you to think about how you want to navigate all of the different things that ACPS offers. So whether it's an educational session or an entity meeting or any of those other things, just like we tell our students, it's really up to us to prioritize. And that's what I would say to you. Whether we're meeting virtually or we're meeting in person, that is always the best advice that I have for you. ACPA has been my home for 20 years. It is really my pleasure to have done this with the convention steering team, with the convention planning team. And it is important that I mention that I started just like you. I came to ACPA as a first timer. I got involved with APAN, the Asian Pacific American Network. I got involved with lots of different commissions and lots of different places. And that's really how I found ACPA to be my home. Just like we tell our students, right? We say, hey, the more you put in, the more you get out. ACPA is a great place to really kind of expand your horizons. And I hope that this convention can be the first time that you can start to explore all the things that ACPA has to offer. In addition to convention, there are lots of different things coming up throughout the year, and it can really be a great place for you to feel grounded in the work that we do. We all need a little bit more of that grounding, especially in this time. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for all the things that you're doing to be here, all the different sacrifices that we all have to make to be here together. And I hope that you have a wonderful experience, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm here for you. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to share my experience or just to be a colleague. So thanks a lot, and thanks to the organizers of this too. See ya.
One of the things that we're really excited about this year is having a really refreshing, revitalizing, and real conversation with each other over the course of the next 3 weeks. You know, we've all been sort of in the sludge at our home institutions, pivoting, other duties as assigned. So we hope that you're able to spend, you know, a little bit of time over the course of the next 3 weeks, really getting grounded in what brings you joy in your work. And so we hope that this is a refreshing experience for you. I know that every time I've gotten back from convention, I've always been extremely revitalized, ready to sort of tackle every problem we have on our campus. And so we hope you find that same energy as you move back to your home institutions or sort of straddle both worlds during our virtual convention this year. We want you to have a real experience. ACPA is a safe space for you to talk about difficult things, to broaden your horizons, to gain a better understanding of the multiple roles that we play and issues that we're facing on our campuses. And this is completely reimagined. None of us had any idea this is what we were going to be doing a year ago, but we're really excited to be bringing you this completely reimagined virtual convention, the first ever in our association's history. Just to go over a couple quick session objectives for our time together, we want to do some virtual introductions to ACPA leadership. And so you've sort of gotten that already with Mark, Paulo, Todd, Taylor, Danielle, and Gabe here in the room with us. We want you to gain a greater understanding of the mission, vision, and values of our organization. So we'll talk a little bit about who we are, how we're structured, how we operate. We will talk about multiple pathways for involvement. I remember my first ACPA convention in 2005. We were in Nashville. We're in this huge Gaylord resort. There's a river running through it, and I was completely overwhelmed. There's going to be a lot thrown at you, and like Bernie was saying, it's about figuring out how to prioritize your time and figure out the best ways for you to navigate convention and find what's going to be the best fit for you. We want to increase your understanding of our strategic imperative for racial justice and decolonization. Todd will talk a little bit about that later and what our caucusing looks like. And then Taylor's going to talk a little bit about navigating the virtual convention experience. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Mark Paulo, who is going to talk about inclusive language.
Awesome, thank you. Again, I'm Mark Paulo Guzman. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a member of the Equity and Inclusion team as part of the convention planning team, and I'm excited to welcome each and every one of you. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about how you can make this convention experience as inclusive as possible to those around you. Convention is a time to learn more about yourself, but also about one another. And we encourage you to think about the diversity of our audience, as well as how you can continue to practice inclusive language. This includes realizing the full humanity of each individual and how folks refer and identify themselves through the pronunciation and gender pronoun use, which we will encourage you to share as well as kindly ask, rather than assuming someone's pronoun. Additionally, if you make a mistake with someone's name or pronunciation or pronoun, quickly apologize and ask for clarification and carry on in the conversation. Additionally, think first about how you wish to refer to specific social identities and make sure that it's the relevant and most up-to-date use. Again, if corrected, accept the correction, apologize, and feel free to carry along. As you choose your words, be mindful about language and actions that may exclude those with various abilities. ACPA is a global association with members and convention attendees from all over the world. Remember to speak from your own perspective, region, and location, and not assume that everyone understands where you're coming from based on the traditions or customs of your country or land. And lastly, this is a place for each of us to learn and to grow. As you grow and make mistakes, give grace to those who are learning. When possible, assume positive intent. Share how their actions or things that they've shared may have been perceived and how it impacted you, and then be gracious in the way you provide feedback and use it as a learning opportunity for everyone. And now I'd like to introduce you to our current ACPA president, Vernon Wall.
Welcome to ACPA, everyone. I'm Vernon Wall, he, him pronouns, and I have the pleasure of serving as ACPA president for 2020-2021. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C., the ancestral homeland of many Native and Indigenous tribes over history, but primarily the Piscataway. As president, I work with an incredible governing board and a wonderful international office staff to provide leadership and direction for our association. When I'm not ACPA president, I am Director of Business Development for Leadership, which is a nonprofit that works with college students, encouraging them to lead with integrity. I am president and founder of One Better World, LLC, which works with campuses and nonprofits and corporate clients around engaging in courageous conversations around equity and social justice. And I'm also one of the founding faculty members of the Social Justice Training Institute. ACPA is about professional development, community, connections with colleagues, racial justice, social justice, decolonization, and just all around support for all that you do on your college campuses and in your communities. We want to be the person that assists you in being the best you can possibly be in all the work that you do. And we would love to be your professional home. I believe that every ACPA member has an origin story. You can tell I'm a Marvel Comics person. Everyone has an origin story, every ACPA member. And what I mean by that is a beginning of their involvement. So what I would ask you to do is, as you engage with folks who are ACPA members, ask them, what's your origin story? In other words, what was your first involvement in ACPA? Many of them will talk about our entities. And when you hear that, just know that there are ways in which you can be involved in terms of groups that are connected either through functional area, geographical area, personal identities, or even professional level. For me, it was the Commission on Professional Preparation, which is mostly grad prep faculty, but I was a graduate student and really was excited about assisting folks. My thought is, if you're grad prep faculty, you want to hear from a graduate student who's currently in your program. And so that was really my first entree, if you will, into being involved in ACPA. And then from there, I was involved with the Coalition for Multicultural Affairs, the Georgia College Personnel Association, and the Coalition for Sexuality and Gender Identities, before then becoming a part of the governing board. As you participate in this virtual convention experience, please let us know how we can be of assistance to you. You will see folks that will pop on in different programs, and their screens will show some of their involvement. And so feel free to private message us, send us notes, make a note to chat with us after the experience. I do believe that what's so really humbling for me is to know that we are an association that really and truly believes in supporting others and being the best as we can possibly be in this profession and in higher education. Our tagline reads very simply that we are boldly transforming higher education. I want to invite you to join us on that journey and have us together boldly transform higher education. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vernon. I want to spend some time talking about my origin story for a few minutes. I'm really excited to share more about this because it really emphasizes the impact that ACPA has on me and how much I grew and learned from it because I answered an email or answered a volunteer opportunity that was sent to me. I had been working at the University of Virginia for 2 years before I decided to read an email from ACPA and answer a call to join their ACPA ambassadors. And I was encouraged that as a young professional, I was encouraged and motivated and really instructed to be involved and engaged. I didn't need to be a member for more than 5 or 10 years to be a leader. I could be a leader as a young professional. And so I decided to become an ACPA ambassador for my first ever convention in 2015 in Tampa. And I was able to find a community even before I started at the convention. I knew whom to go to. I knew where my friends were. We created community way before we even got to Tampa. And throughout that time, since 2015, I've been involved in many different entities and communities of practice, especially through the graduate students and new professionals community of practice, the Asian Pacific American Network, and also became a member of the association-wide awards team, and then more recently became a member of the convention planning team. As you can see, a lot of my time has spent just answering emails and answering the call to action, and folks are ready and willing to work with you and help you understand more about ACPA and help you grow in this community. So I encourage you to answer the call and be involved. And now to Danielle to learn more about our structure here at ACPA.
Thank you. That's a great story. There are so many ways to get involved. And I hope you're listening to folks share this moment that they knew that ACPA would be their professional home. Mine was at one of these entity meetings with graduate students and new professionals, and just a place to come together with folks that either do the same type of work that you do or the work that you want to be doing, have the same identities as you and the same connection points that you want to share, live in the same geographic region, or kind of in the same professional space, and connect with them outside of your campus in a way that we don't get to do very often in higher education, that makes things very powerful, I think, and a community that people keep coming back towards. And so I get to talk to you a little bit about all of these different entity groups, what they are, some ways to get involved in them. And most importantly, I'll start with, as you heard from Vernon, ACPA is a values-driven member organization. We exist for you, to make you better as a person, as a professional, as a scholar, as a leader, and all of those other things. And so we exist and thrive because of your volunteering, your participation, and the community that you create for our association to boldly transform higher education. If we go to the next slide, one of the many ways that folks do that, and this is a little bit of lingo for ACPA if you haven't studied your program book yet, our commissions are one of our oldest kind of groups that exists within the association. And they tend to be focused on functional area or kind of place and space of the type of work that you do. So our social justice educators, our housing and res life folks, our academic folks, you heard Vernon talk about graduate prep professionals and kind of the work that they're doing in those spaces. So they will have open meetings at this convention. They will have other spaces for you to learn about the awards that they're giving out, the work that they're doing. You can log into the ACPA member portal for all of these organizations and click the ones that you want to receive emails from. So our commissions are one of our largest groups and give you a sense of the work that you're currently doing now. Or my favorite piece is the work that you think you might be wanting to do. So the hall director that does some conduct might also join student conduct and legal issues to try to see where they might go in their career and the things that are being discussed there, or expand their assessment and evaluation knowledge. So you can visit these groups at the virtual fairs that are happening across convention, but there's lots of opportunities to connect with our commissions. So commissions, functional area. Next slide is our coalitions and networks. This is where I started and kind of connect a lot with folks. Our coalitions and networks are situated by identity, personal identity. So our disability, sexuality and gender studies, men and masculinities, women's identities, and we have one overarching CMA group that has various networks underneath it for additional identities. Asian Pacific American Network, the Latinx Network, Multiracial, the Pan-African, and our Native, Aboriginal, and Indigenous Network and Indigenous Student Affairs Networks. These groups are helping to coordinate Culture Fest. They'll be doing lots of activities that are kind of in the evenings. There are some of the signature events when we get to be back in person in St. Louis in 2022, but are a great place to go. There is so much going on in higher education in our world right now, and to be able to come together with folks who have the same lived experience as you and share in that and how that shows up in a professional setting is incredibly important. And it's core to who ACPA is and who we believe we are when we show up. And so we really encourage you to get involved in the coalitions and networks and to find some community space that will help you while you're in ACPA, but also every day. They also have some great Instagram content, so be sure to check them out. And then we have our chapter and international divisions. So ACPA also has the opportunity to get involved locally. Many of those are either states or regional areas, and they also offer a discounted rate for membership if you are going to stay kind of local. So it's a great opportunity to be able to connect with people who understand what's going on kind of in your geographic area. Having worked in Massachusetts and Florida, I know that particularly in the United States, but also internationally, where you physically work changes how people talk about higher education, fund higher education, the types of students you get on campus, and the issues that are affecting everybody. And so our chapters and international divisions are a great connection point for all of our members. And particularly, they do a trivia night as kind of part of convention. So you'll be able to connect with them there as well and kind of see what's going on in your areas and some of the professional development that's happening locally. And our last group, mostly because they're the youngest, but they're also part of my favorite group, is really your trajectory as a professional. You've heard folks talk about, Vernon's been involved with ACPA. I joke with him almost as long as I've been alive. I've been a member for 14 years. ACPA stays with you through your professional journey wherever you go. And one of the best ways to connect to those spaces is through our communities of practice, starting with the graduate students and new professionals communities of practice, and I know you're going to learn more about them. Our mid-level group and our new senior level community of practice is really doing things not only to help folks in where they are in their professional journey, but also where they want to be and what they're aspiring to do. And so they'll have lots of activities. All of these groups that I just talked about have open meetings, lots of kind of emails and social media and ways to get connected and say hello at spaces. So please find one or two that you think you might be interested in learning more about and kind of explore for yourself what makes the most sense during convention and beyond, because they're doing things all of the time. They do so much work. And last but not least, other ways to get involved. So one thing that I think is super important, and I know you might be saying, Danielle, this year has been a lot. Why would I add something else to my plate? ACPA has been what has gotten me through the past year. And many of my colleagues, it's been able to come to a community to think about big issues when on campus we might be thinking about how we're going to pivot and make something happen tomorrow. And there are so many different spaces to find an opportunity to give back, to advance the profession, and to kind of do something beyond your day-to-day. And so volunteer in any way that you can. Find something that excites you, energizes you, complements the professional development that you need. And the brilliance of ACPA, as you've heard from other folks, is that we want everybody to get involved. You don't need to wait. There's not a clearance kind of space. We have lots of emails that are open calls, and we want you to apply to them. That's how many of us get here. So volunteer. There's lots of programs. Attend a program, submit a program, help review a program. You can join the convention team, near and dear to my heart, this amazing group of folks that have been planning this experience for the past year and a half. You can support other professionals and graduate students by doing resume reviews or participating in the case study, submitting your research paper or learning more about research. Beyond convention, we have other smaller institutes that are focused on particular kind of issues at hand or things that are going on in your life. They're in-depth learning, kind of on a smaller atmosphere, that are a great opportunity. You can get involved in those entity groups and kind of become a member and see what's going on in those communities, and apply to an open call. There's going to be a lot of work we're doing for the strategic imperative, for the ACPA strategic plan, for leading up to our 100th celebration of our birthday and being young and vibrant and continuing to do amazing things. And so I'm going to send you a lot of emails over the next year. And I hope that you sign up for things, and that you find a space that you can really give back and do some great work in the association, because we are you, and you are the future of higher education, and we need you to help us shape it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Taylor and say hello and thank you for everything that you're going to do and learn as part of our community for the next 3 weeks.
Yes, thank you so much, Danielle. So I would like to take a few minutes to share some tips for attending a virtual conference, because for many of you, this may be the first virtual conference that you've ever attended. And I want to make sure that you get the most out of this experience and know that while it may look different, it can still be incredibly successful. And so the very first thing I want to recommend to you is to get familiar with the eShow platform to explore the virtual convention hall for ACPA 21. I also encourage you to view the schedule of events and begin blocking off time in your calendar to help prioritize your professional development over this 3-week convention period. This can also help your time zone conversion, as all events are going to be listed in Eastern Standard Time, but when you upload it to your calendar, it might automatically adjust to the time zone you will be viewing in. I also want to encourage you to fight that urge to multitask, which is always so tempting, especially when your whole life is happening on the same computer all day. Strive to eliminate distractions. When attending a virtual conference, there can be countless distractions at your fingertips. Take the initiative to put your email and other notifications on Do Not Disturb when you're able to. Close additional website tabs and even take notes on paper. This will help you engage more with each session and allow your focus to remain on the sessions that you are watching. Also, take time to listen to your body and prioritize you. Be in a comfortable space with snacks and coffee, tea, water at the ready. Schedule breaks for lunch, stretch every hour at minimum if you can, and take some time away from the screen to give your body and mind a rest. I also hope you'll take the time to meet someone new. Don't let a virtual experience convince you that you won't make any new connections. There will be virtual networking events and ways to connect with individual attendees, entity groups, and campus leaders. I also hope that you'll set some intentions and goals for yourself to maximize what you get out of ACPA 21. Take some time to reflect why you're here. Why did you sign up to come to this convention? And hopefully that will help align your mind with getting the most out of this time. And finally, connect on social media through the ACPA21 hashtag, and also connect on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the handles that you can see on your screen. So I mentioned that there's going to be some networking opportunities. And so these are some networking sessions that I highly recommend you attend to be able to connect with people all across the globe, quite frankly, that are in higher education. And so the first of those is going to be Celebrate ACPA on Monday, March 8th from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is an opportunity to connect with various entity groups and others across ACPA. I also encourage you to attend the virtual networking sessions on Tuesday, March 9th, and on Monday, March 15th, as a way for you to make more connections throughout your convention experience. Now I'm going to pass it over to Gabe to talk about convention colleagues.
Hello again, everyone. Again, I'm Gabe Marco Garcia, he, him, his, L pronouns. And I've had the honor of serving as I'm now the outgoing chair for the Graduate Students and New Professionals Community of Practice. And as Danielle highlighted, we're one of the communities of practice. We work year round to host a lot of different programs, events, and services to primarily serve our graduate student population, master's and doctoral students roped into that, and of course our brand new professionals identified as 0 to 5 years in the field. So welcome to ACPA on behalf of our community of practice. And one of the first programs that you may, and we invite you to engage in, is Convention Colleagues, which, like the rest of our convention, looks very different this year, but we're so excited to have you. And so, similar to what folks have highlighted, maybe you're thinking about, it's my first time to a conference, period, or I'm brand new to the field and I came from a different profession, or this is my first conference ever, or I'm a first-year grad, or it's your 8th conference ever, or your 15th and going. We do hope that you'll enjoy us, or you'll join us for Convention Colleagues on March 4th and 5th, which is just one of many programs and events we'll be hosting throughout the convention. Both sessions will contain the same content, so that's important to note. So you only have to attend one. Make sure to not attend both. That's an extra hour back in your schedule. Like many programs, we want to make sure that we were taking into account folks spanning across the various time zones that will be attending convention. And this will be an opportunity for those that haven't heard of this program to network, engage, and learn amongst new and seasoned attendees at convention, which is why I alluded to folks that may have attended several times already. Again, this is a space for you as well. You may want to talk about navigating convention, right? Some of the points that have already been highlighted throughout this new attendee orientation. You may want to talk about, ACPA structures a little bit more and having more understanding about that, or just navigating higher ed in general. We know that all these topics have been deeply impacted by the effects of the ongoing pandemic. And so we know that this space is valuable to all of you that are going to be a part of that program, and really want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for deep connection and support, because I know that we all could use that during this time. The other piece is that we did launch our mentoring program this year, and although some of these connections have already started as you're watching this, please don't feel like you've missed out on anything by any means. You are more than welcome to attend the Convention Colleague space. It is not a requirement in order to attend, so please make sure to carve out some time to attend one of the 2 sessions. Even though these sessions won't be recorded, we do invite you, like folks have highlighted before, to engage with us year round. Our community of practice will be present during the marketplace, during Celebrate CPA, which has been highlighted. We have a social as well that you're welcome to come and hang out and enjoy some fun activities that we'll have planned in breakout sessions, or just connect with us via social media 365 days a year to learn more about what we do and who we are. We're excited to connect with you throughout the convention and beyond. Welcome to ACPA21.
And I'm up. So take a moment, right? Let's do one of Taylor's tips. Let's take a deep breath. This is a lot of information. So again, everything, you are a part of all of us right now navigating so much that's new. Typically, we'd be sitting in a big ballroom trying to make sure we were staying quick on time to get you to whatever you wanted to go to next. And maybe you've been engaging with us all at once. Maybe this year you've paused us to go take some phone calls or go to meetings, or maybe you've even watched this over a couple of days. That's all great. And please feel free, as you may have questions that come up throughout the convention experience, come back to this video tutorial, re-look at some of the information. If you say, oh, I remember kind of hearing about that, but I want to do a deeper dive. That is why these resources are here for you. And so I get to talk to you now. Again, my name's Todd, he, his, him pronouns, about really something that transformed our organization and now remains a bedrock of how ACPA, our association, continues to show up. And that is something called our strategic imperative for racial justice and decolonization. And I'm going to give you a little tip. Sometimes we in ACPA will quickly talk in acronyms or lingo, and we just assume everybody's going to understand what that means. And so someone might say to you, oh, the SIRJD. And if they say, oh, the SIRJD, you now know that means our strategic imperative for racial justice and decolonization. This all started in 2016, when the governing board, which is the elected leadership of our association, and our leaders in our international office came together to do an entire strategic plan and say, where do we need to move forward as an association? And out of a lot of talks that came from that was born our strategic imperative. As I said, it remains so much of the bedrock for how we as an association continue to add value to all of our members. So hopefully here throughout this convention experience, you will choose to engage in a lot of educational programs that center this strategic imperative in the types of learning that you're engaging in. The strategic imperative also goes far beyond just what we're able to do here in convention, in this community. So as you see, it calls all of us to challenge and answer our own question, which is, what is my role? Which is, how do I become the agent of change to forward these ideas of racial justice and decolonization? The program is set up to really think about all of the ways it touches us both as people and as professionals. How do we think about this and center this in our research and scholarship, in tools to grow as personal and professional beings and as career developers? And how do we find innovative ways, not just to sort of take our learning and ingest that, but again, be those agents of change that go back to our campuses, that boldly shape higher education so that we are bringing others into the ideas that we are learning through the strategic initiative. So I'm hopeful that you will continue to find ways throughout convention to engage in this. I also invite you, you can always Google the strategic imperative in ACPA. It will take you to an amazing page full of lots of resources that the association has developed. So if you're saying, I'd really like to immerse myself in more that's out there around this, you will find hours and hours worth of content that you can engage in and learn with. And we can go to the next slide. So one of the amazing things that we have had the ability to do in community at convention is something called caucusing. And caucusing is a way that in convention, we are able to realize some of the portions of our strategic imperative. And so we have sort of had this experience of caucusing over a period of a couple of years at different ones of our conventions. You'll see here in this slide that talks a little bit about how every year that we've had caucusing since 2018, we continue to evaluate the program, we refine it. It shows up a little bit differently each year at convention, but essentially it does a number of things for us in community. It helps us, again, align to the commitment that we have as an association around this strategic imperative. It embodies ACPA's intersectional lens so that we approach everything in our daily work as professionals and higher education leaders with that intersectionality centered. It provides us opportunities, again, to have a networking opportunity, to meet people, to be in community, and space for us to process and enter into self-care. Probably something we talk to our students an awful lot about, and a way that we can show our own commitment and practice to that. I am hoping that you have seen the emails to register for the caucus experience this year. And if you did have a chance to register for that, you have hopefully by this point gotten your information on your caucus groupings. So just as a reminder of when those caucus experiences are going to happen, we're excited to have 3 of those happening during our virtual convention this year. Racial identity focused. And you see there sort of how we broke those down. Those were broken down by the groups that you designated when you registered for this. And as a reminder for those of you who did register, our next slide is going to tell you about the times that they're happening. So again, we'll take one of Taylor's tips. And so if you don't have these in your calendar, make sure that you're going and putting holds on them so that you don't miss the caucus experience on these dates, the 9th, 10th, and 17th of March. And if you didn't register for caucus this year, because maybe you got the email, but you thought, I don't know enough about this program, I'm not sure if it's for me, I'll piggyback on what Danielle said, which is make sure that this becomes one of the things that you do not miss as part of your convention experience in 2022 in St. Louis. It is an amazing opportunity to have very real conversations with like-minded individuals. It can be a transforming experience, and it is something that you don't want to miss. So if you're not registered for Caucusing in virtual convention, you're going to make sure and want to join us next year. And I think with that, I get to turn it back over to Joshua.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. So as Taylor mentioned earlier, staring at a screen all day can be really taxing, and we want to be sure that you're taking some time to care for yourself. And so we have some wellness sessions for you this year. There's a self-care wellness session on Wednesday, March 17th from 12 to 1. And then we have a couple career wellness sessions that are going to take place, one on March 10th from 2:30 to 3:30, and then on March 17th from 1:15 to 2:15. And those are going to talk about things like job searching beyond student affairs, if you're sort of feeling that pull, if you've been at this for a while, or how do you even get started with job searching like post-pandemic and in this virtual environment, and what does that look like? And combating compassion fatigue and burnout. So many of us pour so much of ourselves into other folks, and we don't focus enough on how do we care for our own souls. And so we want you to check out these wellness sessions, put them in your calendar, and we hope to see you there. There are a few other major events that we want you to be aware of. So our opening session is on Monday, March 8th at noon, and we're going to hear the wonderful Sean Harper talk with us. It's going to be a fantastic experience. We hope to see you there. Celebrate CPA on March 8th, Culture Fest, a great way to really get engaged with multiple entities of the organization. And that's happening every night that first week, the 8th through the 12th, starting at 6 o'clock. Todd talked about our caucusing times. Taylor talked about our virtual networking times. We have 2 plenary sessions, one with Jonathan Mooney and one with Nancy Evans, 2 fantastic individuals. So we hope you'll join us there. The Cabaret, if you have never heard of the Cabaret, I would highly recommend that you find someone who's been to ACPA before and ask them about their experience at the Cabaret. I am convinced that we are one of the only, if not the only, professional association where you can go to a cabaret and see your vice president of student affairs in drag dancing their heart out to Whitney Houston. It's an absolutely fantastic event. So we hope we'll see you on March 16th at 9 o'clock for the Cabaret. And then our closing session will be on March 17th at 3:45. So a lot of really great stuff happening over the course of these 2 weeks, and we can't wait to see you there. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Taylor.
We just shared a lot of information with you all, but the bright side of a virtual format is that you can rewind and watch this orientation again if you really want to, but you're also welcome to reach out to myself, Joshua, and Todd if you have additional questions about anything discussed today, or if you want to know more about getting the most out of ACPA 21 and your overall involvement with ACPA.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you have an absolutely fantastic convention experience, and we hope to see you around in the rooms. Take care.